Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 23 of our 30-day challenge. It is already here. Yes, yes. Okay, let's get started. Got coffee. Even have a smoothie. I'm really on top of it. Not really. The smoothie was actually left over from yesterday. Okay, so I'm not that on top of it. How is everybody doing today? So we are on the final stretch of our how to make or break a habit in 30 days. And there has been so much jam-packed into these days. I'm telling you, this is the first time that I did this challenge, but I have did Pastor Mark's prayer challenge probably 5 times. We've did it. 5 times live on here with you guys. And then that's not to say how many times Gary and I have did it individually. And I am not kidding you. Every time I do it, I'm like, okay, I didn't get that before. Did you see that before? So there's lots. So if you're going, golly, I can only think of one point. I can only totally fine. Totally fine. You might have to review your notes to remember, and hopefully you've been taking notes. So we're going to jump right in today. There was something that I wanted to, now I can't remember what it is. Well, I guess 2 things that I was thinking about. I don't remember what day it was, but we did talk about keeping a gratitude journal and writing down daily, finding 5 things. That's what I do. I do 5 things and to be thankful for. Write it down. And then the other thing was your, I call it a consistency calendar. What did he call it? Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I've got a commitment device. Your commitment device. Yes. So remember, what I use might not be what works great for you. And so I haven't talked about it for a few days, but I want to reiterate, use something. If what I use, you're like, doesn't work for me, totally great. But find something that does. Don't just say, oh, that doesn't work for me and not use anything. I really highly, highly encourage you to find something that you can keep track of some of these habits that you're working towards, because it is amazing when you do keep track that you can look back and see patterns, right? And things that you think that you're doing maybe every day, but if you keep track, you'll notice, oh, wow, 2 weeks went by and I actually only did that once. Okay, well, then you don't have to wonder why the end of the year comes or the end of the whatever comes and those goals aren't reached. And I don't know about you, but there are some things in my life that I have already predetermined that it matters. And so that's what I encourage you guys. And no one can do that for you. You have to think about what it is in your life, what your vision is, right? And Habakkuk chapter 2, it tells us to write the vision, make it plain, right? So that he that reads it can run with it. So that's the purpose, right? So if you don't write down, if you're not keeping track, it's really hard not to run with it. It just is. And time goes on. And I don't know about you, but the older you get, the time goes quicker for some reason. Okay, I don't know what's going on with my hair. All right, let's get started with day 23. So we are on habit number 5. Oh, I had all these written down yesterday. Nice. And I threw that page away. Okay, our 5th habit is cut the rope, right? And yesterday we talked about changing the routine, that sometimes when you've been in the same routine, now I'm not talking to those of you that are just trying to build a routine. I'm talking to people maybe that have had a routine. Remember, this is the bad habit maybe portion. You have a routine in your life, maybe that has worked for you for a set amount of time, for a season, and maybe isn't now. So it's not that it was bad, it just isn't serving you now, right? I mean, it could be a bad habit, right? A bad routine that you've gotten yourself into. So sometimes that's why we keep track, right, with our commitment device, because then we can see, okay, wait a minute, this isn't working. So maybe reading my Bible every day matters, but I'm kind of just leaving it to whenever to do it, and that's not working. So then we need to decide, okay, when can we look at our schedule and when will it work? If maybe the season when we had little kids, this certain time worked and that worked for us then, but now we're in a different season and that time's not working. Be willing to change the routine if it's needed, right? We don't want to be so glued to something that if it's not working, we're still not willing to tweak, right? Sometimes you got to tweak. Okay, so today we're talking about pick a fight. Let me move my coffee so I don't knock it down. All right. Our scripture reference. Hi, Hoshito. Good to see you. And also welcome to our replayers. I know I've still got a whole group of you guys that are catching this on your own time frame, and that's totally fine. Judges chapter 5, verse 7. Villagers in Israel would not fight. They held back until I, Deborah, arose. On November 5th, 1872, Susan B. Anthony cast a ballot in the presidential election in her hometown of Rochester, New York. She was arrested, indicted, tried, and convicted of voting illegally. At her 2-day trial in June 1873, she was assessed a $100 fine. I shall never pay $1 of your unjust penalty, said Anthony, and she never did. Susan B. Anthony devoted 50 years of her life to a cause that was once considered a crime, which was a woman's right to vote. She didn't live to see the 19th Amendment passed, but her courage was a catalyst in that cause. A century later, the image of the woman who refused to pay that $100 fine was emblazoned on the $1 coin, the Susan B. Anthony dollar. On the occasion of her 86th birthday, Anthony gave a speech at Church of Our Fathers in Washington, D.C. She deflected praise and gave credit to all those who had committed their lives to the cause of women's suffrage. These would prove to be her final public words. With such women consecrating their lives, failure is impossible. I love that mindset. Failure is impossible. Remember our thesis? Almost anyone can accomplish almost anyone if they work at it long enough, hard enough, and smart enough. It might not happen in your lifetime, but legacy is the things that outlive you. It's doing things that will make a difference 100 years from now. It's growing fruit on other people's trees. Susan B. Anthony never lost faith in the end of the story, but every movement starts with a single step of faith. Remember Nahshon? He had to wade into the water up to his nostrils. He wasn't just kissing the wave, he was cutting the rope. How? With a grand gesture. For Susan B. Anthony, it was casting a vote. For Rosa Parks, it was refusing to give up her seat on the bus. For Katherine Johnson, the human computer who inspired Hidden Figures and helped calculate the flight path for Apollo 11, it was asking for a seat at the table reserved for men. All these women remind me of a woman named Deborah, who rose to power in the 13th century BC. A vicious cycle repeated itself in the days of the judges. The people would do what was right in their own eyes. Then God would raise up judges, 12 of them, to help Israel find their way back to God. The fourth judge was a woman named Deborah, who led the nation for 60 years. She wasn't just a judge, she was a poet and a prophet. According to Jewish tradition, she was one of 7 prophetesses. Last but certainly not least, Deborah was a mom. The nation of Israel was experiencing a financial recession as well as military oppression. What were they doing? Cowering in fear. Villagers in Israel would not fight. Not only had they lost their way, but they had also lost their will to fight. It wasn't a pretty picture, but there's a plot twist that deserves a drum roll. They held back until I, Deborah, arose. There is a timeless truism. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Wow. Let's read that again. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Of course, I would add good women to the equation. All it takes is for one person to take a stand. All it takes is for one person to wade into the water. All it takes is for one person to cast a vote. If you reverse engineer watershed moments in history, there is always a recognizable tipping point. It's the point of no return, the point at which a single domino starts a chain reaction. Malcolm Gladwell said it this way: the tipping point is that magical moment when an idea, a trend, or a social behavior crosses a threshold, tips, and spreads like wildfire. I love the way Deborah went third person. Deborah arose as a mother for Israel. In the words of Martin Lawrence, "You go, girl." This was a day when decades happened. At some point, enough is enough. You have to go third person. What does that mean? It's approaching your problems with a third-party perspective. It's seeing your life as a laboratory. It's seeing yourself as a scientist and your habits as an experiment. Leonardo da Vinci journaled until the day he died, and I mean that literally. It's how he connected the dots. While on his deathbed, Leonardo described his symptoms in great detail. Why? For posterity. A third-person approach to habit formation means putting yourself under the microscope, or in the case of Evan O'Neill Kane, putting yourself on the operating table. Dr. Kane performed more than 4,000 surgeries during his distinguished career as chief surgeon at Kane's Summit Hospital. But his greatest contribution to medicine was pioneering the use of local anesthesia. Dr. Kane believed that general anesthesia was an unnecessary risk for patients with heart conditions and allergic reactions. So he set out to prove his point by performing major surgery using nothing more than local anesthesia. On February 15th, 1921, his patient was prepped for surgery and wheeled into the operating room. After local anesthesia was administered, Dr. Kane cut the patient open, clamped the blood vessels, removed the patient's appendix, and stitched the wound. 2 days after surgery, the patient was released from the hospital. It was pretty easy for Dr. Kane to monitor the patient's recovery, since the patient was none other than Dr. Kane himself. Wow. And his self-surgery changed standard operating room procedure. Okay, wow. No words for that story. Let me double back to Deborah. Israel was held captive by the Canaanite king Jabin and his general Sisera. According to rabbinic tradition, Sisera's voice was so powerful that it could shake walls and make wild animals stop in their tracks. Deborah was unshaken. She led the Israelites into battle like Joan of Arc and helped them win their independence. I love what happened next. I'm not sure whether it was a midlife crisis or newfound passion, but Deborah launched her musical career with a song that topped the ancient charts. We don't have the chords, but we do have the lyrics. There is a footnote at the end of that song. Then there was peace in the land for 40 years. What made that peace possible? A woman arose. Deborah broke the glass ceiling in more ways than one. She proves our thesis. Almost anyone can accomplish almost anything if they work at it long enough, hard enough, and smart enough. Of course, you'll have to cut the rope like Deborah did. How? She declared war. I don't mean that literally, but figuratively speaking, you need to come out of your corner fighting for your good habits. It's the only way. At some point, you need to declare war on your bad habits. In Rocky 3, Rocky Balboa gets a rematch with Clubber Lang after getting knocked out in their first fight. A few rounds into the rematch, Rocky is getting clobbered by Clubber once again. That's when he starts taunting Clubber, like David trash-talking Goliath. You ain't so bad, says Rocky. You ain't so bad. After Rocky takes a few too many punches, Apollo Creed says he's getting killed. But Paulie knows better. He's not getting killed. He's getting mad. A few years ago, I was part of a panel at the National Prayer Breakfast with Bob Goff. Bob said something that has become a mantra of mine. Pick a fight. It's getting into good trouble, as the late John Lewis would say. Pick a fight with poverty. Pick a fight with injustice. Pick a fight for any kingdom cause that you care about. If you're willing to fight, you have a fighting chance. The same goes for making and breaking habits. Don't take defeat sitting down. Pick a fight with your shadow side. When we self-identify as the hands and feet of Christ, do we think about the implications? Do you remember what happened to the hands and feet of Jesus? They were nailed to a cross with 9-inch nails. What makes us think we're exempt from pain and suffering? But when you suffer for righteousness' sake, the gain is worth the pain. One of the best ways to win the day is to make someone's day. In the same vein, one of the best ways to solve your problems is to help someone else reverse engineer theirs. Reflecting on his work as a psychiatrist, Carl Jung discovered a fascinating truth about seemingly insurmountable problems. They can't be solved. They can only be outgrown. We have to discover something more important than the problem. When we do, the problem eventually loses its power and goes away. Just as happiness is an indirect byproduct of blessing others, habit formation is not a self-centered endeavor. Some problems are solved only by helping others. Not only does it put your problems in perspective, but your problems will also lose their power. So how do you make it a habit? Fight one more round. On September 7th, 1892, a boxer named Gentleman Jim Corbett got into the ring with arguably the greatest boxer of all time, John L. Sullivan. Sullivan was the last heavyweight champion of bare knuckle boxing and the first heavyweight champion of gloved boxing. In 50 fights, Sullivan was undefeated. The only fight he would ever lose is this one. Corbett knocked Sullivan out in the 21st round, becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. But in my non-professional opinion, that wasn't his most impressive fight. The year before, Corbett had sparred with his crosstown rival, Peter Black Prince Jackson. Their fight went 61 rounds, and get this, ended in a draw. For the record, professional bouts are now limited to a maximum of 12 rounds. Yes, 61, that's a lot. How do you come out of the corner 61 times? Gentleman Jim Corbett lived by a motto: fight one more round. When your arms are so tired that you can hardly lift your hands to come on guard, fight one more round. When your nose is bleeding and your eyes are black and you are so tired that you wish your opponent would crack you one on the jaw and put you to sleep, fight one more round. The man who fights one more round is never whipped. That's good, isn't it? In his first letter to the Corinthians, the Apostle Paul did a little bare knuckle boxing. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body. Remember Teddy Roosevelt? Make your body. This sounds like an awful lot like that, doesn't it? Paul was preaching the doctrine of the strenuous life. In his second letter to Timothy, he said, I have fought the good fight. In his letter to the Ephesians, it sounds like he has gone 61 rounds. Put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, to stand. I have no idea whether the Apostle Paul was a flyweight, featherweight, or heavyweight, but he certainly carried his weight, didn't he? He keeps coming off the ropes, out of the corner. How are you doing with the habit that you're trying to make or break? I told you from the get-go, it won't be easy. Why? Because you're picking a fight. Can I challenge you to fight one more round? Can I challenge you to keep coming out of the corner? Pick a fight. Wow, that day was good, wasn't it? Whew. Wow, okay. Yeah, having a moment here. Come out of the corner one more time. I don't know who needs to hear that other than me, but I encourage you, pick a fight. We know the end of the story, right? We know God calls us victorious, right? So be encouraged today, friends, and we're praying for you. We're believing that what you're believing for, whatever things in your life that you're trying to, wanting to see change in, that it will happen. This will be a year of great transformation. Great transformation. That's what we're believing for. And we believe that for you. Thank you so much for watching today, day 23. We are on the final stretch. And this has been an amazing time. I know I'm actually looking forward to probably repeating this myself. Hey, Nancy. Yeah, good day, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm going to be having a moment here as soon as I click end stream. I'm holding it together online, but as soon as I click end stream, the makeup probably will be off. So thank you all for watching this live, those of you that caught this live. And again, to our replayers, love you guys too. I've been hearing good things from those that have been watching the replay, that it has been really blessing you and challenging you. And so that is all amazing. And we will see you guys tomorrow for day 24. Have a great day, everybody.